So
Okay.
today we are having a panel on DNI, and I've been asked what that is, which is diversity and inclusion, not dependency injection. Also, I am a lot the technical moderator to switch things around, to copy questions from Remo to here. Then I also kind of do the technical moderating, and if you want to show something on screen, I can put slides on screen or something like that. And the real moderator, is the person who does the moderating, is Chandler, and then we gonna I think now just start with an introduction round to know who's on the panel.
Does that mean I start?
Yeah, let's start with Patricia.
Okay. Hi, my name is Patricia Ols. I am a C++ programmer. I've been doing it for about 15 years. I guess, I participated in starting include hash include, and yeah, I guess that's it. So I guess that's you, Honey.
Hi all. I'm Hani Sukeshan. I work as a senior software developer at Jaguar Land Rover Island. I'm basically embedded software programmer. My passion started with C++ when I was 15, because C++ is the first programming language I learned at school. So I'm still trying to get in pace with C++ and staying connected with the C++ community. And that's it from me. Thank you. Over to you, Sai.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Sai. I have 3 cats who might pop up at various points. I work at Microsoft as a C++ developer advocate. My background's in compilers for graphics cards. And I was also one of the founders and organizers of Hash Include C++. Hannah?
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm staff scientist in Avast, and I'm also diversity inclusivity ambassador in Avast, and also I'm chair of SG7, but that doesn't matter here. Guy?
Hello, my name's Guy Davidson. I am the principal coding manager at Creative Assembly, makers of the Total War franchise. Please, everyone, go and buy it now, if you haven't already. We have many copies of the game ready for sale right now, please. I was also a co-founder of Hash Include. I sent the original tweet. And we've just passed our 5,000th member of the Include Discord, which is, I'm just like, oh, what have I done? But I say, what have I done? I really didn't do anything. I sent a tweet and encouraged everyone. And, Patricia and Sai, you've done so much, and I'm really pleased, and thank you very much. I really am enormously grateful for the weight that you have lifted to keep this all going. And I have to say that because you're both amazing. And that's it.
Yeah, hello. My name is Basit Anthony. I'm a student at the University of Ilorin. I have about 4 years of experience writing C++, which was my first programming language, so just as Oni. I interned earlier this year at Goldman Sachs, and I'm presently interning at Microsoft as a software engineering intern on the mixed reality team. Yeah, I present to Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Gabriel Destrais. I've been writing C++ for over 25 years, and I've been working on W21 for over 23 years. So I'm kind of dinosaur here. C++ wasn't my first programming language. So again, I think it was either BASIC or Pascal. I can't tell. But, when you go through the French educational system more than 30 years ago, you've got to practice Pascal. So that's my sin. I'm an architect at Microsoft, working on large-scale programming systems and the compiler, of course, and other stuff. I'm very much interested in diversity and inclusion in a way that's done to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot. Chandler?
I'm Chandler Kruth. I work at Google, and I been working on C++ for a while now. Although oddly, C++ is also not my first programming language. Interestingly, my first programming language was also BASIC. But I have put a bunch of quotes around that because it was reading BASIC out of a book and typing it in, and I was not very high, so like my older sister had to do the typing because I was kind of I don't know if that counts as programming really. So I'd like to just kind of kick off this panel with kind of a question for all of you, and all of you can answer, or if you want, you can just like pass. It's totally fine. There's no need for you to answer this. But I do want to really ask you all to try and answer this question kind of personally. Whether it's by relaying a personal experience that you're comfortable with, or just talking about kind of your personal expectations or what you really want. I want you all to be selfish and tell the audience where you're coming from. You don't always get a chance to do that. This should be your chance. So my first question is really, when you're joining a team or you're joining a new job, right? Or you join some technical community like Meeting C++ or C++ more broadly, right? What does it really mean for you for that community to be diverse, and what impact does that have on you as you join the community? And we'll just kick this off with the same order of Patricia. What do you think?
I guess it's about feeling safe. Instead of starting off being apprehensive, I might be less guarded. If I see it's a diverse community, like very often, I've almost always been the only woman in my team. I've often been the only woman on my floor in the building. So oftentimes there wasn't a woman's bathroom when I joined. So if I came in and they were and we're talking diversity amongst like on multiple axes, I think it would make me feel less apprehensive and yeah. Honey, you're up.
Thank you for that question, Chandra. Thank you, Patricia. I agree to your points. For me, diversity really makes best out of me, I would say, because I am an Indian. I work in India till last year. Last year we came to migrated to Ireland with my family. So before, in my previous work experience, we usually have customers as a diverse group, or like from belonging to a different country, but all the other our colleagues depend to a same group or like same ethnicity or same cultural background, etc. But when I migrated to Ireland, it's a huge change for me. Like here, I would say that in my team, in my work, we are a small group of people, eight team members in my project from 5 different continents. So it's like understanding other people, understanding how the culture, background of the other people. It's and back, I don't travel much, so I don't have any exposure to meet so many people. So this is a learning experience to me, like how to understand others' feelings, what are their experiences, what type of work they do, what cultural background they are from. So for me, also it is giving me working in such a safe place means giving me equal opportunities and getting the dignity and respect as a woman or as a person from an underrepresented community. So it gives me a lot of pleasure. I think for the for the prosperity of any organization or a community like this, and to get into a global exposure, I think diversity is an important thing that is to be noted, taken care. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sai.
Thanks. Yeah, I think for me, like going into a new team or company or community, whatever, diversity is like, it's an indicator. It's an indicator of a couple of things. One, the values of that space, and two, the ability of that space to actually retain people. So, there's the problem of like, are they actually like reaching out to people? Are they, like putting things out there which are bringing diverse people towards them, and then can they also keep them? Are they like actually dealing with harassment? Are they making it a safe, inclusive space? So diversity, like looking at a team, they're not like foolproof indicators of those things, but they're certainly like something I would look at and then use that to color how I look at that space and how I interact with it.
Okay, for me, joining diverse team says that the team will be much nicer to each other because they are used to communicate with. They are different, so they need to communicate and need to learn to communicate. And if they are there for a little bit like a longer time than just a few months, then it means that it's also inclusive. That people wants to stay there. That means maybe more than just to be just diverse team, because some companies they start hiring diverse, but they are unable to like retain them. And so if I can join a like diverse and team which is like working together for some time, it's really awesome experience, and I would I would recommend it to everyone. It's like teaching experience. So that's for me. Oh, learning experience. Whatever.
Me, I guess. All right. I like joining. Yeah. The thing that's most important to me about joining that I'm happiest about when joining a team that is obviously diverse is that it feels normal. When I walk around in society, when I go to the supermarket and I go shopping, and there are men and women and children and old people, and there's a cross-section of society in the supermarket. I live right next to a very big supermarket, and I see everyone walking past. And when I go to work, it's nice if my workplace reflects the society around me. It feels normal. There are some environments that don't feel particularly normal. I imagine, I used to be a missionary. And, the distribution of people there is slightly unusual, and it felt strange. But when I'm in a supermarket, I feel like I'm just a normal person in society, just normally interacting with lots of people. And so when I see a diverse team, I think, this is a normal place, and that feels good to me. That's it.
Okay. For me, a diverse team means a team where everyone within a team, regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation, or whatever, it is like agnostic of the person, but like what the value the person has to offer, or what ideas the person has to bring forth. So that's basically what diversity means for me, and what I usually look forward to. And inclusion means for me, it means they make me feel as part of the team that my contributions are valuable, and they really appreciate the work that I'm doing, as to other employees too. Yeah, I'll pass on to Gabriel.
Okay, you all have made all the good points. The thing that struck me is the point that Patricia made. It's like diversity has several axes. I strongly relate to that. And Hannah was talking about the place being inclusive. It's very much important. I think I've lived on 3 continents now. I was born in Togo, West Africa. Moved to France when I was 18, where I got my PhD. While I was doing my PhD, that was when I got involved into C++ standardization. So by 2002, I was already the head of the French national body. So they allowed me to do that kind of job without regard to my background. Just, can I do it? So to basic point, can I bring value, and is that value useful to the community? I very much like that. At my current place of employment, I just told them, I don't want to be your token black guy. I don't want to be your black activist. I want to be here because you value what I'm contributing. And all of my management chains say, oh, yes, that's what we want. And in the last 7 years, I haven't seen any indication that it was otherwise. So, to Hannah's point, inclusivity is really key, and Bezit made it very, very clear, like what I'm bringing, not the color of my skin or where I was born. No, can I bring something of value? That's all.
So you mentioned inclusivity, and I think that's also interesting. So I was going to start off with this diversity question, and then talk about inclusivity. And I love that you all are already moving into the kind of points of inclusivity. Does anyone want to add really how they feel about inclusivity? What does inclusivity mean to them that maybe is subtly different from diversity? Is there something else that really brings forward for you, or is there another impact that has on you in the workplace or in a community?
Oh, I have to go first again.
This is anyone who wants to talk. You don't have to go in a fixed order every time.
For sure, I can start.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Inclusivity, for me, it's that I'm being heard, and whatever my need is, it's like reasonably like people like agree on them. That if I'm saying something that I need something, then they don't tell me that you don't need it. Then they will listen to me. That's inclusivity for me. And yeah, that's like basically because everything else is just like under it. So to keep it short.
Anyone else want to add something on the kind of the perspective they have on inclusivity?
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Patricia. Yeah, I think for me, like what Guy said about normal resonates a lot. It's about like repositioning the normal. The normal in so many places is, white, cis, man, and there's a style of communication as well, which often goes with that. I mean, obviously that depends geographically as well, but there's a normal which is like normal in so many of our spaces, and inclusivity, I think, is a lot about repositioning that normal and, broadening it and bringing more people into that definition.
Yeah. I guess what I feel often is a lot of our tech discourse has been defined by this angry white man, where okay, that was probably, now people are gonna hate on me on the internet, but sorry, but the fact that it is irrational to be kind, it is not, you are supposed to not be empathetic, you're supposed, like, all of these kind of human qualities that we use in interpersonal relationships, that we use to bond with other human beings, are devalued. And all of the aggressive, competitive kind of attributes are overvalued. And we forget that we're human beings and we need to relate to each other and care about our colleagues and their lives. And I think, so for me, I guess inclusivity is okay, this sounds really simplistic and weird, but it's when I walk into a place and I feel like they're happy that I'm there,
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
If I add to that, Patricia, I agree to your perspective, like I agree to everyone's perspective. So if I add to that, like in this like world full of these negative news and negative like from social media and stuff like that, like being diverse and like being inclusive provides a positive feeling. So let us spread that positivity and joy to the people. And again, I have, for me, inclusivity has two other aspects as well, like breaking down our own mental barriers, because those, I would say, there are some unconscious biases that happen to our mind right from the childhood and from the society, learning from the society, kind of. So when we like the thing that happened to me in the past year is that I'm trying to mingle with people of different racial backgrounds, ethnicity, color, everything. So it's like knowing the others, knowing the feeling of others, and yeah, as a person, that makes me feel happier, and that's it. Thank you.
So I want to get to the first of our kind of audience questions here. There are kind of two parts of this. So the question is really, how do you feel about the growth of the #include C++ community over the last years. And I'd particularly love to hear from at least one perspective from one of the organizers of Hash Include, because we have a bunch of them, but I'd also love to hear from someone who wasn't involved in this organization, but like has been watching this community grow. So maybe let's start with one of the organizers. I don't know which of you wants to.
I think.
Jump on this.
Well, I think we are all absolutely flabbergasted at this. I mean, we were basically, when we started the Discord server, we were like 10, 15 people, and we were like, if we're 50 one day, that would be great. And it's like, and then, if you, like a couple of months later, we're like 250. We're like, wow, all of these people. And I don't think I could have guessed even that we would be at 5,000 today. No.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Basit, or sorry, Guy, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, Basit, if you have something to say, that's fine.
No, I don't.
No, okay. I was going to say. I'll speak.
Being inclusive.
Yes. Well, I was going to say that aside from the fact of it just being an extraordinary thing started by a slightly silly joke, the impact on the community has been extraordinary. People notice and care about things. People put pronouns on their names. They try and make things feel comfortable for people in a way that I just didn't. I've been using C++ since the late 80s, and it's always been the really hardcore Cocoa head people who've been in C++, and that's just really fading away now. We're getting younger people in. We're getting women in. The diversity is increasing, and people are calling me out. Like earlier today, I misgendered Psy, and I do this a lot. I really do this a lot. I even say guys, which is a real bugbear of mine. And all of these things are really habitual. But people are noticing them, and people are saying, "Do you know what? Maybe you don't want to say that." And they're happy to call people out politely and kindly, and just raise everyone's game just a little bit. And that's great. That's how societies grow. That's how civilization's a process. It's not a state. And this is the process that civilization grows by. It's just those little incremental steps. And that's what I'm seeing most of all in the C++ community, just little things getting better. I don't care if it takes generations to happen. It'd be great if it all
I care, because I'm here now. Come on.
That's a very good point. You probably care much more than I do.
Yeah.
But, I welcome every increment. I really do welcome every increment.
Anyone who's kind of watched some of Hash Include's growth from like not as one of the people who started it, I'd love to hear that perspective as well. Or maybe all of you people are just like deeply embedded in that perspective, which is great.
I think I joined at the beginning, but I'm not like active organizer there. But it's like it started as a small thing, and suddenly I out of touch of most of the chat rooms there, because it's so many like communication there, and it's awesome because we started like 10 people, and we actually meet on conferences. At the beginning, it was like it's a group of people I know.
No,
it's nice.
Okay, two things, if I remember both things. First thing is I almost quit C++, totally. That I don't remember who remembers, but that New Year's Eve, before we started that Discord, I basically was like, I don't need this. I can program in another language.
Is it a New Year resolution? Sorry, is it a New Year resolution for you?
Huh? What did you say?
Was it a New Year resolution for you?
No, it was just I kind of gave up. I'd given up on the whole community. It had been a really bad New Year's online, a lot of harassment, a lot of things, and I'm like, I I don't need this. I can get paid doing something else. and so I basically had like, and when I said that out loud to the other people who are in this really, really small group, then they were like, no, we can do this. We'll do it together. And I have to say that community saved me in that way. I stayed in the community because of #include. And so people say like, oh, you started it. But the thing is, I'm just as much or maybe more a member than everybody else, because this became a place where I felt safe. So yeah. And I forgot the second thing, so it doesn't matter.
Gabby, you were trying to mention something earlier. Please.
Yeah, I was just, I'm not familiar with what led, what happened led to that decision of leaving the community. So is that something you can share, or it's too private?
Well, it's not really a secret. It was we had a channel on the Slack, on the CPP Lang Slack, and it was overrun by trolls that were harassing everyone, and it was very clear that they were going to continue doing it, and no one was going to stop them doing it. And it felt like there's no community where women or anyone who is different will ever have any place. And then I was like, okay, I don't need this. I don't want to invest time in this. I want, like I said before, I want to be in a place where people are happy that I'm there. I don't have like really high standards. I'm like, that's, if people are happy that I'm there, I will do my best work. And so when I said that I wanted to leave, and I was really sad, and I said, we could have been so great. And then everybody were like, okay, let's go and make that community. Let's go and make that community where things will be better. And so that's the reason we chose Discord to start with, was because Discord had good moderation tools. So, and we had moderators from the beginning. We had a code of conduct from the beginning, even though we were like a really small knit group that all cared about diversity and inclusion. We had really strict rules from the beginning, because the idea was that this was going to be different, that this is a place where we're going to be kind to each other. And that really, you see that today. Like, you join and people talk to each other like human beings, and it really makes a difference. People feel safe enough to ask questions, and not feel like somebody's going to drag them because you didn't know that, or you could have Googled that, or you read the manual, or so yeah.
I thank you for sharing that, Patricia. I think that's just it's a really important thing for people to understand. I kind of want to. I think that's actually a great segue also to my next question. But Jens, you had raised your hand, and I was just curious if you wanted to jump in quickly here.
Yeah. So during the years when I started me in C++, I read a lot about community management and how it works and what's the science behind it. And in a recent blog post, I wrote like some thoughts about the recent video from the PhD, because on CPPcast I said I would do that. And I think this kind of sums it on. Communities that are active, welcoming, and friendly will attract more contributions, and when folks feel welcome and respected, also likely become more diverse, and also then over time grow. And I think that's kind of the secret of how Include grows over time. Just their presence at conferences, in the community as general, and just building the reputation and people staying and not leaving. More people are staying than people are leaving.
Oh, and that was my second point. I remember now. It was the in real life thing. Because, if you are a minority within your community, either because you are from a different country and you're traveling to a conference at the other side of the world, or you don't know anybody, or you're new, we would make a channel for a conference, and then we would announce that we were going out to dinner. And so, you travel to a different city where you don't know anybody. You're at a conference, you might not know anybody. It's kind of scary. You don't want to go with like a random person because you don't know them and you don't know if it's safe. And just having that idea that these people, you could go and eat with them as a group. And that moved it in a way to be an in real life thing where these are people that you knew already, and also you would go together as a group. So
So, Honey, I think you had wanted to relay something, and then I think that may be a good time to kind of pick up our next question. But go ahead, Honey.
Yeah, thank you, Chandler. I would like to add my own personal experience in this because the thoughts which Patricia shared really relates to me, because I came to know about HashInclude community last year when I joined the ACU conference for the first time. And again, I have the same apprehensions because I'm an embedded software engineer. Having said that, I learned C++ as my first programming language. It doesn't mean I am a C++ expert. And also, when I come to the ACU conference, I see like most of the 95% of the people, more than 95% are men. So I feel like, what will I do there? What will I go and talk there? And I feel very apprehensive. That time my colleague, John McFarlane, accompanied me. So he introduced me to several people, and then I understand the passion of such C++ programmers in the community, where they, like, I came back and said to my family this word: they speak C++, they eat C++, they party C++, they drink C++. It's like it's a different feel. I haven't met any people like that, so it's such an inspiring feeling for me. Because I started to think, I have been in the industry for last 13 years. What I have done? What I have done? Like I always feel like I'm thankful to many teachers and many early career mentors in my life. Then I always think that without them, I wouldn't have even existed. So that things, and this year the CPPCon experience where same apprehensions I was having, and seeing us smiling, like first point is that seeing us smiling people, welcoming mentality, that itself makes a good difference. So for me to open up and stuff like that, and they encouraged me, and I participated in a lightning talk for the first time in my life. And again, that opportunity gives me this opportunity to come here and present a diversity and inclusion panel. This is the first time I'm been taking part in any panel discussion. And again, these are all my experience as part of diversity and inclusion. And please promote people like me and many. So I have the same responsibility now. How you people promoted me or like encouraged me, supported me, I have the same responsibility back to my colleagues or people or women or girls or underrepresented community in any humble ways I can contribute back. That's all. So that's my thought now. But because of family responsibilities and stuff like that, I don't know I can ever travel or worldwide or like to conferences. So these virtual conferences and meetups are really a good place. Please keep doing. Thank you.
Hannah, you also had a short thing you wanted to
I would just add something, and it's that we all need role models.
Yes.
Whenever you join some community, you need to have some role models. By the way, for me, it was Patricia on my second CPPCon. Don't tell her. And also it's good to have a mentor who opens a door for you and introduce you to people and do some heavy lifting for you. Because if you are a minority, it's sometimes really hard to push for ourselves.
It's so weird for me that Hannah says that I'm her role model. She is like absolutely incredibly brilliant. I'm in awe of her.
You both are. So one thing I want to kind of pull us back to, Patricia and Honey, you've both mentioned kind of seeing some serious, inclusivity issues in the community, and I think myself and other people often, when you start seeing them, right, they kind of seem to appear everywhere. It's like you start noticing them, and of course they've been there before, but you really start to notice them really widely, which can be, daunting. It can be depressing. It can be hard, right? And Patricia, I think you were kind of commenting on how hard it was for you, right? But I also want to ask, do you think that we are making progress over these last years? And if you do, I'd love to hear about kind of one or two just particular places where you feel like we're really making progress on diversity and inclusivity over the past few years. For this one, really, I'm going to go kind of the backwards order, and so Gabby, maybe you want to start off with this one.
Yeah. So you mean in the C++ community? Right?
Yeah, in C++ in particular.
Right. Yeah, I do definitely see a lot of progress, at least in the last 5 to 10 years, I would say. Before joining Microsoft, I was in the GNU community, right, for more than 17 years. And it is interesting. So for me, in this space, what is most important, what we call ally, people who are there to support you, as Honey was saying, you get promoted and you have to acting like an ally, even if you're in the group. And I have seen few allies to me or to other people like me, especially at Red Hat, Jeff Lowe, Jason Muriel, Nathan Sidwell. I was working as a contractor for CodeSaucer before he got bought by Minter Graphics. They were really, really good at being ally. If they see something that is not okay, they will jump in and of course try to see perception on each other, but really say, hey, you need to be nicer, don't be a jerk, right? Sorry, I don't even know I can say that. And so there were a few, but I would say over the last 5 to 10 years, even if I'm not participating directly in the GNU community, I see from time to time that the community has really, really progressed in terms of inclusivity. So that's one side. Talking of WG21, which is the C++ committee, things have changed, right? Especially with the introduction of code of conduct, and which is implicitly recognition that something needs to be changed, even if most of the people were just being nice. It formalized that, hey, just be nice to people, and that's the real change, right? So in terms of customers, people who would be using either my product, GCC or MSVC, I think the community has expanded, and of course, when you're internet, you open yourself to abuse. That's just what the internet is. We would like it to be different, but that's what it is. And that explains part of the reason why I don't have social media, because it can be, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not because it can be tough. This is just the way it is. But you can also see other people jumping in when they see something wrong, calling jerks out, that's not okay. So that's very different from when I started, let's say in 2000s. Yes, the internet was smaller, but trolls were much more predominant at the time.
That's it.
Yeah, I've actually been involved within the C++ community, the mainstream community, for generally a short while now. So I can't really give much insight. But what I've seen and noticed is that whenever there's a bad behavior from someone within the community, they are usually very, very quick to call out the bad behavior. So, and I think that's really great and improves the diversity and inclusivity within the community. Yeah. I'll pass it on to Guy Davidson.
Guy? You're muted, Guy. We have to have that moment. It's a cornerstone of the virtual world we live in.
This is live and direct. Charlie, could you repeat the
Of
question?
course,
I'm
of
not
course.
quite sure I'm after two answers.
I just wanted to kind of see, like, while sometimes, issues with diversity and inclusivity can appear to be really, really prevalent, I want to know, do you see ways in which we're making progress on those issues over the last few years? And like an example or two, if you have.
Oh, right, yes. Well, frankly, I think the best example is the increasing representation at Meeting C++. As I'm sure Jens would like to tell us. It's just great. The first time I came to Meeting C++, I looked out at a sea of white men. And it was like some rally. So it was just some strange. But women are coming, and they're coming back, and they're returning, and they're coming more, and that's job done. Well done, Jens. Well done, Meeting C++. And it's great. It's benefiting for it.
One thing that
it makes the place more normal.
One thing that many people might not know is that Jens was there from the beginning of making Hash Include. He was there from the early beginning, and he was really invested and has participated actively from the very beginning and all through the lifetime of Hash Include.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hosted a meeting at Meeting C++. I think it was like the first time the group could meet officially at the conference.
2017.
But I was also kind of happy that a group forms at once to tackle that, because inclusion is a team sport. And I really was like, I don't want to have like that one person who is known as that person who is responsible for changing the community or failing at that. And everyone points at probably her or him. So, and the other thing is, when I started looking into the whole thing with communities, diversity, and I was looking at something which I can measure, which I can track without being too invasive, without so I basically wrote a function which takes the first names, because I have the first name of everyone, and checks it against the list which I assume is a woman, and I also know your country. I checked like Andrea if it's in Italy, and then it's a man probably. So it doesn't have to be exact, but I wanted an approximation, and I wanted to see that. First I wanted to have this to check my data in the past, to see how was it past. But let's not talk about that. And I wanted to see how it evolves, and it was quite interesting to see that historically we're coming from, or Meeting C++ comes from 3 to 4%. This is where we started, and I think I have the data from 2014 or 13 on. And then we had a slow increase every year, a little bit. And then I think there was a stagnation for some time, which probably was a lot of the other conferences coming up, and just a few women we had were getting more into a normal distribution, and so hence you cannot go to every conference or speak at every conference, so that's just normal. And one internal goal I always had is I would like to have 10%. So as a first milestone, 10% would be nice. Not that we keep it there, but that's what I would like to have as a representation milestone, to reach it someday. And I was so happy that this year I could offer the tickets for support and the students through the sponsorship from HANA, and we made it through the sponsorship. We're now at a bit more than 10%, like 10.1% or something like that. And that's the first, and I think we're like the first conference to do that. So yeah, we're improving, and it's helping to show people. And on the other hand, I think that C++ is not like one community, it's like a meta community consisting of many other communities, and I think they're competing. So naturally, you draw kind of the people you attract to your community, and you keep the people which feel welcome and respected and feel that is the environment where they want to be in. And so as we attract more people, we see that this is becoming then visible in our conferences and community space, which is really nice.
So I just want to see if Hannah has any kind of examples, some specific examples of places where you're seeing improvement over the last few years.
I would say conferences in general. Like 2 years ago, there was no such panel as we have today. Not even 2 years, maybe 2 years ago there was, I think, first on CPPCon, but I'm not sure about it. And it's becoming normal, and people talk about this more and more, and it's new norm. And other places, sometimes the discussion are quite hot, I would say, and toxic, but at least we have them. Before that, we just ignore this topic, and now it's more normal, and it will be better and better. And I think 2020, even it's really worse year we have, but these virtual conferences helps a lot to attract people from around the world, which wouldn't otherwise interact with our community. And they will maybe stay if we are nice. Yes. And that's really important to do now. And next year, maybe we will meet in person. That would be awesome.
Maybe. Also, I want to make sure we cover everybody here. Sai, do you have any particular examples?
Yeah, a few examples from conferences. Like over the last 3 years, like more and more conferences are adopting and enforcing code of conduct. More conferences have gender-neutral bathrooms, have accessible stages. Like the CPPCon had a ramp up to the main stage last year for the first time. Live captioning as well. So conferences are always looking for things which can be improved and then building upon them. And there's still a lot to do, especially in terms of like if you watch Sean Heath's video, which focused a lot on racial diversity, specifically on the number of Black people who are on stage, and the numbers were not good anywhere. So there's still like so much to do, especially in that space. But there are conferences are improving in their inclusive practices, and hopefully that can help try to boost these numbers and get more people involved.
Honey, do you have any kind of particular examples that jump out to you of improvements over the last few years?
Unfortunately, I don't have much examples because I come from India, from the southern state Kerala, so where engineering is kind of a trend over the past 10-15 years. So I don't experience much less diversity in workplace compared to men and women, because I think in the last 12 years career, I have only in only one project, I am the only woman among six other men. In all other projects, there would be like, we don't feel that.
I don't even know what that would feel like. I can't.
But yeah, but only. But I would say that like, because I come from such a place, I haven't been aware of that things. Okay, but when I migrated to Ireland, I was like yeah, I'm a foreigner, I am coming here. How would people accept me? I have such apprehensions, but again, it's Ireland. It's a warm place. People are very warm, so I don't feel like I am in a different continent. So I don't have. Unfortunately, I don't have such experience. Again, coming to C++ community, I have only positive experience till now. So then, how could I tell? So I should share that positive word to the people back, right? So I have that responsibility.
Awesome.
I think. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for the nice people who didn't feel me as separate. Thank you.
Patricia, any last examples? You get the last example here.
Well, I feel it feels totally different to me, but the problem is I don't know if that is real, like because I feel like I'm insulated by the #include community. I feel, and that means I feel a lot safer. Like Gabriel said, that social media can be harsh, but it can also make community if you don't see anybody like you, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, and for me,
I agree.
That's been a big thing. I've suddenly I've met other women, lots of other women that do C++, lots of people of many different genders. Yeah, and that matters to me because I feel less weird. I feel less different. I feel like one of a group instead of alone. And so yeah. But I don't have a perspective because I feel like I'm a tree inside of a forest instead of a tree outside of a forest.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So Patricia, I fully agreed. I suspect so I just decided very early on that now if I go to social media, I'll get abused, and because I've already seen that instance. So I suspect I compensated that by building network relationship, like I'll say meeting people in real life as opposed to just going on. But that's a tactic from a different era. Like these days, social media are reality.
No, there is more harassment. You're right, but I saw that in real life too. So what I got was a feeling of community that I didn't feel locally, So now I'm crying, so I'm not gonna stop talking. Sorry.
Okay, I'm good.
Can I? Sorry.
Hannah, go ahead.
No, I didn't.
I saw a hand for you. Okay, Honey.
Can I say something here? Yeah, I should say that I wouldn't say the name of the social media. I quit one of the social media a few years back because of some negative experiences to me. But only thing is like I don't feel it is valuable to me, and it's taking me up. It is wasting a lot of my time scrolling. Then it's like it's seeing people boasting of something they own, like car. So I feel like if like I have a lot of friends in that social media, but I feel that if such friends really care me, they can contact me in WhatsApp or any others. So then I thought like where I can contribute, being inclusive in a social media and where I can contribute. Then I find this LinkedIn, Twitter interesting, and I want to especially mention one thing here, because in LinkedIn I usually share some links, knowledge sharing links, or like recently I write some article. I'm not a writer, but the thoughts which I have or something in LinkedIn. But sometimes I feel like in one part of my mind, I feel like whether people thinks like me, like I am a show person or something like that, but definitely not. I'm just I think like at least some people find it useful, or like some people find it interesting. For that people, I'm sharing that knowledge or experiences. So I don't worry about other people. Even in a professional social media, the professional social media itself, I have seen many posts like women are getting some other type of messages. But when somebody comes to me, talk to me, I would reply them like, do you have anything to be do you have anything I can professionally help? So such questions, if we have the courage to ask such questions, I think we can prevent many of the other negative aspects, because if they know that we are here to have a positive, provide a positive environment, or like we are not that type of person, then they will stop talking to us. So we are there to provide information to people who need that. That's it. And thank you.
So there are a couple of audience questions I want to try and get to, but we're low on time, so I'm going to ask for just like 3 answers to this, and you all get to kind of figure out who wants to answer most of all. So this question is, is there some way that, I can make my company where I work really see that diversity is important, and in particular do that without kind of it becoming adversarial or becoming kind of, the bad person or the enemy in some way. And so I'd love to have like 3-ish ideas. I've got one from Guy. So Guy, go ahead and start off.
Okay, you can emphasize the importance of diversity by saying that there are more problems to solve than there are people to solve them. And that's drawing from a narrow pool of white men is really shooting yourself in the foot. So go and recruit from different places. Go to where the other people are.
Hannah, I saw you put up a hand too.
Yeah, for me, it's became the role model and drop piece by piece small like hints that this is good direction, and they will absorb time. They will think it's their idea.
Awesome. And Sai, I saw you had a hand as well.
Yeah. On the like not being an enemy thing, I think I would say that no matter what you do, it's going to be hard, and it's also not going to be instantaneous. Like, unless everyone's already on your side, moving that needle, especially by yourself, takes an incredible amount of work and can be incredibly draining. So the suggestions which Hannah and Guy gave are both great, but also I would say to know your own limits and to know how to spend your energy and when to conserve it, because it's a long fight and it's a hard fight.
Wonderful advice. So Jens, how are we on time? Should we take a last audience question?
I think we're good on time, and we can keep going for like another half an hour. I think that's okay with you. If any of you need to leave for a meeting, like I don't know, Chandler.
Chandler is not working,
So
definitely.
if Chandler is fine with that, otherwise I pick up the moderation, and
I'm good.
I think 90 minutes
Okay, then we
is
have
like
lots
fine.
more time.
So keep going.
So let's so the next audience question I think is really interesting, and it's one I've been thinking about a lot, and I'd love to hear what all of you think. So the question is kind of how does the C++ community compare to kind of other programming language communities, particularly with respect to inclusion? The audience person is observing that JavaScript meetups seem to be a lot more diverse, and does anyone have ideas about why? Who wants to go first here? I saw Hannah's hand first, so you get the first crack at this.
I think it's because the C++ is older language and it has a lot of baggage.
That
Including
was
people.
short and sweet. Patricia, go ahead.
JavaScript is a much more accessible language. So you have a lot of people who can okay, first of all, everybody can program JavaScript. I don't think there is anyone in any kind of language that haven't done any JavaScript in their career. It's a language that we all kind of have to do at some point, and it's also one that is accessible. You can run it in your browser. You don't need any kind of special equipment. You can make UIs with like HTML and some JavaScript. You can Google everything. It's a very accessible platform to learn. It doesn't mean it's like very, very, it doesn't coddle you like C++ doesn't coddle you. So please see my lightning talk. C++ is like JavaScript. But I think it's a very accessible language for people who don't know how to program at all, because they start off making an HTML page and then, they have a button and they want this other thing to turn green. And then they Google, how do I make the thing turn green? And they say, oh, like you add an on click on the button. And then before they know it, they've written some code. So that's why I think that community has gotten more natural growth.
So you may say that, but I just want to be really clear. JavaScript terrifies me. I struggle so much every time I try. It's actually something I really have a hard time with. I'm super impressed by all the people who can program JavaScript. But Guy, I saw you had a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've never touched JavaScript. I've said it. I know. Maybe it's my Christmas project. Maybe I'll learn JavaScript. I think one of the things that sets C++ apart is that it has a reputation for complexity, which we are trying hard to solve on the committee. Be under no illusions. We all know it has its dusty nooks and crannies, and we're trying to fix that. But I think that has led. It's made it a very the machismo of C++ derives from that, and that makes it a much more male community. And I'm sure this will change. More women will come in. The language will become simpler. All these things will just sort of wind together. I think as C++ drags itself into the present, as it acquires all the lovely new features that the other languages have, so will our diversity increase.
Gabby, I think you also had a hand up here.
Yeah. So I think I agree with Patricia's point earlier that JavaScript, no matter what you think, Chandler, and I might actually come to agree with a lot of what you're saying, is that it presents itself to be accessible. And in many ways, it is. Like, you don't really have to think hard before you get some rectangle with yummy colors in there, right? Getting a circle bouncing in a square in C++ requires a lot of stuff compared to other languages. That's true. It's not clear to me that the baggage, the fact that it's an old language, baggage itself is the source of it, right? I would think that the fact that it's more accessible JavaScript is more accessible, makes it easier to get more, I would say, representation of the society as a whole, or as the people who like to do computer stuff get in there. Whereas C++ is more like infrastructure, language, and that kind of stuff, which means that the problem we're seeing is a reflection of the pipeline coming in, right? Yeah. My view is, if you were able to inspire more diverse population in the pipeline and give them opportunity to succeed, we might actually be able to have that reflection in the C++ community. So from my perspective, it is not so much the fact that it's old C++ is an old language and therefore has the baggage, but it's more like the pipeline. What can we do to increase the pipeline for the incoming? As someone who was professor in previous life, that was something I tried to do. And I suppose I succeed in some ways to try to get young women or underrepresented communities to do some research stuff with me, just to get them interested. And then they can do whatever they want, but get them exposed to these ideas, whether it is C++ or something else, doesn't really matter. Of course, I'll prefer C++, but my view is it's more reflection of the incoming pipeline.
I have a comment to that.
So I think Hannah had already put her hand up, but okay. I'll get you next, Patricia. Go ahead, Hannah.
I think it's not about pipeline. There are some let's say countries when it's 50-50 at universities. It's about again the role models. If you don't see anyone same as you will leave. Oh. And if you meet people who are behaving badly because it's norm in the community, you will leave and to another language. And if there is another language, let's say JavaScript, which have as nicer people, you will probably stay with them. And that's, I think, the biggest problem of C++ community.
Patricia?
Yeah, and it's very much tied into what Hannah just said. You can have a diverse pipeline, but it doesn't help if they don't stay. So we need them to stay. And the only way we can get them to stay is if we keep the people we have or we bring them back. And bringing them back is something we don't talk enough about. But one of the things that have been most impactful to me for over the past 2 or 3 years is several women, I think maybe 3 or 4 women, that used to work as programmers, then left programming and went into tech adjacent, or in other positions in tech, so in project management or in something else that it wasn't programming, that went back to programming and told me that it was because of me, that I inspired them to try it again. And these are women that are already educated, that already have work experience, that there are women out already in the community that we could have had as programmers, but that were pushed out from culture. And so unless we address the culture where the pipeline flows into, then we're just losing everybody again. So, and I think also Sai talked about that before, about retention. If you can't keep people, then you're just going to keep it at low numbers, only the ones that you got in, but they're going to leave all the time. So we need to work on making where they end up being a good place. And it's only when we can do that we can both bring in the people we already have in other roles that disappeared, but also to make sure that the people who come feel safe enough to stay. And it is a very challenge, but it means that we have to address the community in depth.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Gabby, you had a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to strongly agree with Patricia's point that we need to be able to retain the ones who choose to come in with us, like stay, so that they can provide a role model. I believe in the notion of role model, like very deeply. There is no question that I suspect my different position is the fact that because we're working with something that is old, it has baggage, therefore explains the rest. I think that is where I have a differing opinion. But I fundamentally agree with Patricia's point that role model is very important. And you need to have the community be inclusive so that those who decided to come, to join, contribute can stay. I personally contemplated leaving WG21 around 2017. Like seriously. And then, I stayed. And part of it is, yes, you're right. If you don't see someone who is like you and can guide you through how you get through certain, I'll say challenges, then you can why am I here? Why am I doing this? Life is too short. No, I'm just going to do something else, right?
Oh my God, that is like my inner voice.
So I fully understand. I fully agree with what you say. I just have different take on whether what we are working on is too old, therefore have a baggage.
Okay, with addressing C++ specifically, I think we have a PR problem because
yes.
C++ is really cool. Like the things that you can make in C++ is super cool. What is that? That is German, Jens.
I don't know why Jens has a German.
You said doing something differently.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that I've been thinking about doing here locally, and we've been talking about it, and something that I hope to do when we get out of this pandemic thing, is to teach C++ because I organize the C++ meetup in Oslo, and to run a class at the meetup for anyone who wants to learn C++. So if you're a JavaScript programmer, Java programmer, I don't care. You can come here and we'll teach you C++. And I think a lot of people would like to see what it's like, but they don't really know, and they're kind of scared and blah blah blah. And we have this PR problem of being hard and scary and I think if people got a shot at trying it out and seeing all of the fun things that you could do, I think we have a PR problem.
Yes.
Which is harming recruitment.
Yeah.
So I think we have several people who want to kind of have a chance to talk here. So Hannah, why don't you go ahead first?
I will be short. I would want to go back about the inclusion, because Patricia just a little bit changed the topic. It's about a competition. It's like my experience. If you came into a team which can be diverse, but everyone is used to compete to each other across department and team, not everyone wants to be challenged in everything. Not everyone wants to run every day, and that can be tiresome. And you can just leave and go somewhere else, and it's everywhere. So yeah, and I think that's my point.
Honey, I think you also had a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, again, as Hannah talked, I just point out some points which I feel interesting. That's why I am talking here. I agree to Patricia, as she was telling about the diversity of women coming here. So one thing which I think we have to address is considering my personal experience as a woman. I'm a mom, so as I told earlier, I can't travel much and I can't go and join these conferences and many other things. So after the pandemic, please keep doing this virtual meetups, conferences. I always support for that. So that's the one thing which takes me to here. And another point, sorry, I forgot that point. Sorry, I forgot that point.
No, but I think that a point is really important, and I think one of the things that we forget is visa problems. Like a lot of people who are very, very prominent in the C++ community are people who are visa privileged, who can easily travel to other countries. Whereas if this becomes a process that will take you months, and you will have to give out bank records going back a year, you will have to have a bank guarantee of tens of thousands of dollars to go to a conference. This makes conferences completely inaccessible for people of many countries in the world. So virtual conferences makes it suddenly possible to participate in spaces where you were not able to participate before.
Yeah, I remembered my point. Sorry, Chandler. So one other thing which you mentioned about communities outside of English-speaking bubble. Then another personal experience is that one of my apprehension was I'm not a native English speaker. So one of my apprehension to talk to you people was that will you understand my language? Will you understand my accent? So, but after migrating to I usually talk to our customers back in India as well. But when I started working with a group of English speaking people, and these Irish people, they talk very fast. So first few months, I can't understand any word from them. But later I got that courage. Yeah, if I don't understand, talk to them. Please repeat. But so I think these are some of the apprehensions for people to join. One is maybe as a woman, I know my personal experience. Another is as a non-native English speaker. That is also my experience. So these are the things. Thank you.
Yeah. Bassett, you'd raise your hand.
Okay. Personally, for me, being in Nigeria, which is a developing country, most of the companies they don't really work with the infrastructural level at the infrastructural level of software development. So if you're most people will tell you that they don't learn C++ because it's not possible to get a job, or it's not much relevance or use to them. So that is the really major problem here. But what got me into C++ was because I wanted to dive into infrastructural, even if it will mean me traveling out of the country. So I think that is the major barrier for entrance in Nigeria here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a comment from the audience that I wanted to relay here, which was to say that a bunch of the allies in the Hash Include community are actually white men, and there's been a bunch of people really making the community supportive and making sure that the effort there was actually spread, and the load was kind of spread across the community and didn't just fall on the shoulders of a few people. And so I thought we might kind of change gears a little bit and talk about some of the things that allies can do and how they can be effective. And so one thing that and maybe this is just my personal insecurity, one of the things that I struggle with is making mistakes. Because people make mistakes, right? And that's a normal thing, and we don't want people to be afraid of making mistakes, but we also want people to recover from them well. And so, I wanted to kind of just start with some easy questions that maybe you can set people's mind at ease and help them out in a kind of really practical way, right? So here's one that this is, again, this may just be my personal hang up, but I am terribly nervous every time I kind of start talking with someone about mispronouncing their name. Because names are important to people, right? They're their own thing, especially across different languages and different cultures. It can be really difficult to figure out how to pronounce people's name in the right way. So what happens if I'm in a meeting and I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly? Tell me what you want your allies and your inclusive colleagues to do when they're in that situation. Who wants to go first with guidance for people here?
Should the person with the weird last name go? No, just kidding.
Okay.
Oh, me too.
We have a good selection of people here. Go ahead, Gabby.
So interesting. These days, I just go with my initials, GDR, and assuming it's all okay. So my parents called me Gabby, and in France, my friend called me Gabby. And I moved to the US, and I realized Gabby is the short for female version of Gabby, right? Gabriel. So a lot of times people get confused, like, okay, don't bother. You can say Gabriel, or you can just say GDR, and it works all the time. And then the last name is in 2 words. We're going to say something politically non-correct here. And in the US, a good citizen has 3 parts to its name: first name, last name, and middle name. And they are all distinct names. So when I present myself, Gabriel Dustris, especially when I was professor, the students was really convinced that this was my middle name. After a while, I decided to fix that, my head, by actually using my initials. It was T. I don't know, they just thought that, well, I have middle name that's in 2 parts, T-DOS. Okay, so it doesn't matter that, the first day of class, we do syllabus. I emphasize, Dos Reis is my last name. Dos is not the middle name. I consistently get emails from the student, Dr. Reis, you were not paying attention the first day of class.
I love it.
So so I just continue using Gabby because that's what my parents and friends call me, or GDR for those who get confused. I don't know there is a good remedy or answer for that question.
Honey, you'd raised a hand.
No.
Honey.
Yeah. Sorry, Patricia. Are you talking?
I'll go after you.
Okay. It's for me, it's my first name. So for me, for living with this beautiful name for the last 30 plus years, I didn't find any issue because my name was unique in my place, at least, and I usually boast of my mother put me this name with such love. But when I come here, I realize that people find it difficult to call me my first name. Some people call me with my initial. But some people ask me what is the meaning of honey in your native language? Then I thought honey is honey. I don't know any explanation. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's just funny things. No problem. I don't worry much. And again, another thing about last name, which Gabriel mentioned here, is my correct name as per my certificates is Honey S, because we use initials in some places. So S is actually for my we don't use family name. we use like father's name or mother's name, something like that. So S means Sukeshan. Sukeshan is my father's name. So when when people started writing letters, official letters, they called me like Mrs. Sukeshan. Then I corrected them like Mrs. Sukeshan is my mother. I am please address me Miss Honey. Mrs. Honey. Yeah. It's just funny things. Thanks.
Patricia, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go for practical advice. So I would say if you are worried about somebody's name, then ask them privately. Yeah. So don't put them on the spot in the middle of a meeting where you are continuously like reiterating and rehashing the fact that they are somehow different in public.
Yes.
Yeah. So if
Fabulous advice.
Yeah, that so actionable advice, I would say, if if you feel like you are not doing well, I would try to maybe avoid saying a name or it's hard. Like for some people, especially, this has been a microaggression they've felt their entire life. And so for some people this is going, but for other people it's like for me, in Norway nobody could pronounce my first name. So I would be on roll call and people would say, teachers would go like paprika and all sorts of things. So, and when I went outside of Norway, nobody could pronounce my last name. So I lived, but yeah. So it depends. But you don't really know what kind of relationship a person has to this. So I wouldn't do it in public. Yeah.
Great advice. Sai, you wanted to mention something?
Yeah, on not necessarily on like getting names wrong, but like getting pronouns wrong, or really like anything which is part of someone's identity which you misconstrue or misrepresent. Don't make a big deal of it when it happens. If you use the wrong name or use the wrong pronouns or something, and then spend like 30 minutes being like, I'm the worst person in the world, please forgive me, how can I ever no, please don't do that. Please.
The trouble is, I'm so spectacularly British. I'm made of apology. Me up, apologising to and rain. Those are the three things that rhyme.
Don't make it about yourself. It's about them.
Yeah.
Also great advice. Jens, you also wanted to put a hand up.
Yeah, I had a recent experience through organizing meeting C++ online, because suddenly you reach into so many other people in the world, and I never thought that people would ask me how to pronounce my first name, or that I would have to correct them, because the S in my name is loud, it's spoken, and it seems to be in some other cultures in this world, it's silent. But Jen is my brother, but he's written with an A, and I know that he switched his name in the US to Eric, because Jan or Jen is like seen more as a female name in the US, and for a long time I didn't know that my brother had like, who's Eric Weller? I heard about Eric Weller, but who's that guy? And then my brother had something, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm calling myself Eric in the US, and this was weird to just and to kind of to understand that, and also to reflect on that, and so I learned a lot about that. And so you shouldn't take your name as granted in the pronunciation everywhere. So that just might happen to you, even if you never thought about it. That's even with so short names. And
Honey, go ahead.
Okay, that's what I want.
Sorry, one last point. I think LinkedIn now has a cool feature where we can pronounce our name there. So yes, it's a recently included feature. So I pronounce my name there. Hope everyone is safe now.
Super useful, practical.
Yeah.
Super useful.
Go look them up on LinkedIn and listen to it privately.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. So you brought up pronouns, which is going to be the next variation of this question already. But I also want to kind of ask something that I actually have gotten personally asked several times. If you're a bystander and you're trying to be a good ally, and you know a person's pronouns, but someone is misusing them, or anything else that's really, you know, part of their identity and is something that's really important to get right. What's the like, if you just had to give like a one sentence, like, look, here's what you should do, don't overthink it beyond this, what would be kind of your advice to kind of you know, allies who are just present in meetings or in social situations?
I'd say, like, if there's a small pause, you can just like have a super simple, like, one word correction. You know, someone says he when they should have said she, then if there's a pause, you said, you mean she, or something like that. Like, that could be enough. If there's not, then you could just like mention it to them in passing, privately afterwards. Also depends on, you know, how comfortable everyone is in that situation. If you know that everyone in the room are like understand these issues and will be sensitive to it, because, you know, there's also problems if you're in a mixed group of people that you don't know, and you know, drawing attention to something could like out someone as trans or things like that. So you just have to be like careful about the group that you're in and the dynamics which are at play. But generally, like, a super small, quick correction is the best thing.
Awesome. Hannah, you hit your hand up.
I would like to add something to this comment. You must use your privilege if you have some. If you are, for example, a respected manager, you should be the one who's be seen that it's normal and if you, because you are again the role model for the group. If you are like manager, so you should do that. If you have the privilege, do it.
Yeah, definitely. Use the correct pronouns. Make sure everybody hears it. Make sure you do it consistently. Yeah, I think that is very important.
Gabby, you also raised your hand there.
Yeah, to Sai's and Hannah's point, like, and especially when what Sai said, like, you have to be very attentive to the dynamics in the room. Sometimes, if you know, in the good intent of being an ally and just jump in and correct, you might inadvertently offend the person you're trying to help. So there is some balance to strike there. And to Hannah's point, if you're a manager, yes, you set the tone, right? You make point of pronouncing correctly and using the right pronouns and the names correctly and so forth. Yeah.
Awesome. We also got a question from audience, and I think this even ties in with something that Hannah, you wanted to talk about. So the audience question was around jobs. This is a total topic change, but I wanted to try and get the audience question since we have it. The question was around jobs, and you know, companies don't always want to employ beginners. There's a lot of job postings which ask for experience. The best C++ programmers in this person's classes are women, but they don't stay in C++. They also were saying that they taught C++ in Nigeria for several years, but all the C++ jobs ended up outsourced. And I think the question is kind of implicitly like, what can we do about this? And I think, Honey, you actually had a particular point to make around training and the differences that C++ has around things like training compared to JavaScript.
Thanks, Chandler. This is just my observation. It may be correct or not. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Because I heard of this community, Free Code Camp, right? It is a popular community, right, in Twitter and all it. And I think they are providing some free certifications for JavaScript and web development technologies. And what I understood is like it is making such that language much popular. It is giving opportunities to, and I recently read a tweet from one teenager, like 17 or 18. He wrote something like he stopped his school after finishing his schooling. He took a 6 months break and he learned Free Code Camp and Free Code Camp's certification. And soon after that, he was placed in a company, even without a degree. And then this HR was asking him, what is your degree and stuff like that. And because they will be doing the real world projects. So nowadays, we heard about these FAANG companies where degrees are not that important. They really value the stuff in us, right? Programming, sir. We are hired for programming. So we know, if we know programming, we can survive anywhere. So the point which I am trying to make is that I think this free code camp has done a better job in popularizing JavaScript maybe, and also JavaScript and Python are still the programming languages having higher opportunities, right? So to meet that demand again with this free code camp community, it is again popularizing. That's it. So we can try something like, as Patricia told, we can also try in C++ community. We can also try something like that. Again, these conferences and YouTube trainings, everything, doing a good place. And special mention to Jens for the meeting C++ job fair, right? Online job fair. So a special mention to that as well. Thank you. Over to you, Patricia.
Also, I think actually Guy had a hand up as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just briefly, I think it's very short-sighted only hiring experts. One of the things that we've done at Creative Assembly over the past 2 years, we're going into our third year now of really focusing on hiring fresh graduates, not as interns, but just as full employees. And it's building real continuity into the expertise in the company. We've got people there who have our game franchise is 20 years old. And we have people I've been there for almost its entire life. I've been there for about 20 years. But we're getting people who are being trained on the job and are staying and are delivering much deeper and stronger peripheral benefits to the company than simply being good at C++. I think it's very short-sighted simply saying, oh, we're only going to hire experts. We're not going to provide you training. You need to know what stuff. That's a really bad approach.
Couldn't agree more. Patricia.
Yeah, a little bit in between what Honey and Guy said. But I think it is a lot about giving opportunity. And that is something that we have to do at community level, realizing that especially C++ is a language that you learn from other human beings working next to them. It's not something you come in, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and now I know all the things. You sit next to people and you learn over years. And so you have to give the opportunity to people to come in. And I think it's great that one takes in graduates, but I also think that we should be better at taking people who are mid-career and career changers. We need to bring in people who have different competencies in different areas. And I think if we had that, we'd be making better software, because we're making software that is discriminatory on basically all axes. Because the teams that are making them are homogenous. And so taking people in and saying, you know what, you have life experience and professional experience that we need, and we can teach you C++. I remember once I was in an interview panel, and we had a woman come in, and she had signal processing math type of background. And I interviewed her. She spent 20 minutes explaining differential equations to me, with drawing on the whiteboard, and I understood it, And then I go into the panel, and somebody says, yeah, she's not really good at C++. And I'm like, seriously, if this woman can explain differential equations to me on a whiteboard in 20 minutes, I can teach her C++. Okay, this is not an issue. Just set her next to me. We got this. But the problem is, you're in a panel with one me and 9 white men, and she didn't get the job. And instead, a guy comes in, and I interview him, and he's bragging to me that he understands C pointers, and I'm like, okay. And then I go into the panel, and they were like, yeah, C++, and I'm like, what? And so he got hired. So we need to realize that we need to give opportunities to people, and nobody's asking for a handout. Nobody's asking to be quoted in. You give people an opportunity to shine, and you give people an opportunity to learn. But that means that people should have to be ready to teach them, right? To sit next to them, to answer the questions, to say, oh yeah, I've made that mistake 50 times before, it's over here. And because we know we can recognize errors, not because we're magical, but because we made them, right? And so, yeah, I that's it. Sorry.
Absolutely. And for the record, I think differential equations are as difficult as JavaScript. I don't understand either of them. Despite trying repeatedly, my math professors gave up on me. It was embarrassing. It was bad. So I'm even more impressed by the performance of explaining differential equations in 20
Yes.
But I think we've kind of had an amazing discussion here, and I just want to, before I hand it back to Jens to close, I just want to actually thank both the audience for showing up to this, and a bunch of people helped me kind of prepare for this. But most of all, I want to thank Jens for making this possible and organizing all of it. And I want to thank all these panelists because, I've been on technical panels and I'm exhausted at the end of the day. It's incredibly taxing. I can't even imagine how just emotionally draining and energy draining this kind of a panel is for all of you. And so thank you so much for taking the time and energy to actually be here and share all that with us. And so with that,
thank you.
I'll hand it over to Jens to close us up.
Yeah, so I think it's time to close this. And last year, after meeting C++, I attended a different conference, and it was about butterflies.
Oh,
Butterfly conference.
It was the German conference about just generally scientific work on insects and butterflies. And this is an old passion of mine, and I saw that, and I was like, wait a minute, that's after the conference directly, the next weekend? It's going to be hard, but I also know that I'm going to be there and try to make it and nerd out and I just want to encourage you if you have like other interests, to see what other communities and reach into other communities and see like how is it there, how do they address that, what are their problems, and how do they think about it. They were like really shocked and offended by the thought of publishing slides from talks, because they were a scientific conference, and usually you publish that in some paper publishing journal. And how come you think even about publishing some slides or recording talks? It was like completely new for them. It was so different culture, and it was also a bit different in diversity, but it's just so interesting to see that. So I want to encourage that. And on the other hand, I thought I end this panel not with just doing a long speech on that, but giving each of you like a short sentence to say something positive about,
Well, I want to thank Sai for making me feel welcome.
Oh, thanks.
That's it.
Yeah, to me, my chance, right? What I want to say, 2020 has been a difficult year for many, and including everyone. But for me, the things which I haven't ever dreamt happened in 2020. Thanks for all your support.
Yeah,
Keep doing.
Thanks everyone for making this possible. I'm gonna go and either sleep or watch Robo Vampire.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to Chandler. He's my ally, and I hope to see all of you next year on Meeting C++.
I want to thank everyone for agreeing with me about all those years ago and joining in and doing all this and doing the heavy lifting. And I'm really grateful, especially to the admins on Ash including Kate Gregory, who we've not mentioned Kate once, which is a bit of a shortfall, I think. But Kate and Si, Patricia and Fred, I'm really pleased that you're you're holding the community up. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, I want to thank Jens, who convinced me to join. I think I tried to get myself out of it, but he had the right words, and I think I'm glad I did. So thank you very much. I'm pretty sure I'll be here next year. Sorry.
I already said all of my thanks to you all. You just gave your all for this panel, and I'm so impressed by it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sure, everyone. Have a great call.
Bye all.
Yeah.
Bye all.
So let's not forget about Barzit. He just dropped out. I'm not sure why. Maybe his internet, or maybe just also being tired and late for him. I want to thank all of you for coming. And so, yeah, looking forward to see you tomorrow at Meeting C++ 2020 again. So,
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye all.